Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first of what will be two videos about automated migrations with PlateSpin Transformation Manager and PlateSpin Migrate. My name is Joe DeBear. I'm part of the PlateSpin product management team, and with me is Peter Clemens.
Hi, I'll be doing most of the demo today, but this first part's all on Joe.
Yep. And Peter is part of the product architect team in the PlateSpin group. So we're first going to set the stage a little bit. So most of you are probably familiar with our product PlateSpin Migrate. It's been on the market for quite a long time, and it's our tool to stream Windows and Linux workloads over the network from any platform to any platform, including the cloud, and we do that with near zero downtime. Currently, we are at the PlateSpin Migrate 12.1 release. And PlateSpin is very much the tool that the industry has been using for a long time to do those workload migrations, again, from any platform to any platform. But what we've been noticing during the last couple of years is that the sizes of the migration projects are dramatically increasing. So a large project used to be anywhere between or around, let's say, 1,000 to 2,000 workloads, but projects of thousands of workloads are more the norm these days than the exception, and even projects of tens of thousands of workloads that need to be migrated are very much no longer an exception. So what we noticed is that those kinds of projects are really hard to tackle if all you have is a migration tool like PlateSpin Migrate. So there was a need for more automation and also more planning, because if you want to effectively tackle a project of that size, and you need to start planning that project well in advance. And there were really no good tools on the markets that allowed you to do that. So we developed a product called PlateSpin Transformation Manager, which very much is that planning and execution automation tool for those large projects that you want to tackle. So what this product brings you is an increased speed in the time frame that you need to execute your projects, and you can also have a higher success rate in your migrations. And that, of course, leads to an overall reduced cost for your transformation projects. So what Peter will be demonstrating today is that integration between PlateSpin Transformation Manager and PlateSpin Migrate. So he'll show you in the first video just the core concepts of PlateSpin Transformation Manager. We'll zoom in on the planning that you can do, and then in the second video we're going to zoom in on the integration between Migrate and Transformation Manager, because it's that integration that allows you to get to that high level of automation, which gives you that dramatic reduction in the time you need to execute your projects. So with that said, I'm going to cue it over to you, Peter, to kick off the demo.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Before we get started, I want to kind of set the stage here. I'm assuming most of you will have some familiarity with the Migrate product. In other words, I don't intend on demonstrating that product or explaining it much, but I will completely explain all of the features of Transformation Manager and how they interact with our Migrate product. So as far as I know, we have no competition in the industry. Obviously, there's lots of companies out there that help you to migrate workloads from one place to another, and that's easy enough to do for a few dozen or maybe even 100 or so computers. But as soon as you get into larger and larger migration projects like Joe was just mentioning, where you may have, in fact, tens of thousands of computers, it becomes nearly impossible to manage projects that size with just a spreadsheet or a Microsoft project file. Anyway, I'm going to start out with a quick overview here. I'm going to log in as a user known as Jim. Jim is a system administrator for a service provider that manages services and workloads for multiple customers. In terms of roles, we've defined several roles for system administrators, project managers, migration specialists, and so forth. We've also defined a role specifically intended to be used by your customers. We call that the dashboard viewer role, and it allows them to see the progress of ongoing projects. But because of time constraints today, we'll do most everything as Jim. In terms of organization, Transformation Manager is a multi-tenant product, meaning that you can define and perform mass migration projects for multiple customers. These are called organizations in the Transformation Manager UI. When users from an organization log in, they get to see only the objects related to their projects. Within an organization are projects. Almost everything you do will be in the context of a project. Projects own all the workloads, the networks, the migration servers, the hosts, the data stores, resource pools, everything you're going to need for the duration of the migration project. Within projects, we have a container called waves. While projects can have literally tens of thousands of workloads, we would expect that waves would have maybe 1,000 or 2,000 workloads each. We would expect that a wave might be an area of your data center or perhaps an individual department. Waves have a start and an end date, but those are bounded within the projects that they're found in. Within waves, we have batches. And we'd expect batches to have maybe 5 to 50 or so workloads that are all related in some way and ought to be migrated within the same few-week window. And like waves, batches also have a start and an end date, and they are likewise bounded by the waves that they're in. Now within batches are the actual workloads themselves. In this example, you'll note that I've already imported a number of workloads using our bulk import tool. Now, as an aside, we have a couple of ways you can import data into Transformation Manager. You can either provide all the source workload information from an import spreadsheet, and that's the method that I'll be showing today. Or you can use our REST API to import all the details of a workload entirely automatically. In fact, you should know about our REST API that it is a fully functioning REST API, and everything that you will see me do today in the interface, you can also do with that REST API. But either way that you do the import, Transformation Manager will connect you to the machine. Transformation Manager is going to connect to every machine that you've identified in the import, and it will then perform a discovery and a validation of the information that you provided during the import. Let's go into one of these workloads. The workload dialog lets you see all the details that were imported into Transformation Manager. You also get to see the future state of the workload here in the proposed column. You'll note that most of the source information is duplicated on the proposed side as the starting defaults. We also have a few errors here because we really haven't started the planning process yet for this workload. And just to be clear, planning consists of assigning a workload into a batch and a wave and supplying all the information needed to define the future or the proposed state of the machine. Once all the information is provided, these errors will go away and submit the workload to be processed by a migration specialist. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go into this first section here. I'm going to assign it into a batch. Let's go ahead and take that one. You'll note that we automatically got start and end dates and times, and I'm going to leave those alone. I'm happy enough with the defaults, but I could override them if I wanted. I'm also going to select a transformation method. Let's go virtual to virtual in this case. We'll choose a block with driver option, which is a performance issue when actually performing the replication process. And I'm going to select a migration server here. Okay, you'll note that once this dialog closes that many of our errors have gone away. And now that we've identified the transformation method here, we've got additional requirements that have popped up elsewhere on this dialog. Now is probably a good time for me to point out the colors that are on this dialog. Gray identifies most of the items right now, and it's simply indicating that they're defaults, that we haven't edited anything yet. Black, I don't know if we have any just yet. Let's go ahead and make an edit then. You'll see what happens. Black represents data that we looked over, but we didn't make any changes, while blue represents edited values or changes from the original, and as we pointed out earlier, red indicates something that's wrong or perhaps a missing value. Let's go ahead and finish this particular one. Looks like we need to identify a data store for it, and I've pre-created these. Once all the errors are gone, you'll note that our submit button lights up, and we're able to submit this for a migration specialist to work on. Okay, so the only reason I went through that exercise is because I wanted you to get a sense of the experience you'll have as you're planning an individual workload, and so that you can see the fields and the kinds of information you'll be providing when defining the target or the future state of the virtual machine. But the truth is, that's not very efficient when you consider that you have to do that with literally thousands of times for every workload you're planning to migrate. So, since Transformation Manager is specifically targeted as a mass migration planning tool, we provided several ways, several important features to allow you to work on lots of workloads at the same time. The first of these we call the advanced search feature. Since we're literally expecting that this workloads list could have thousands of workloads in it, the advanced search feature lets you trim the list to only those workloads that you want to work on. So for example, we could select a batch, and you'll note that that trims that list to only 8 to 10 or so items. We could also select some kind of a transformation method. For example, I'll take virtual to virtual, and again, we've got a different set. And let's try one other option. You can, for example, find all the workloads that have a certain amount of total storage. In this case, we'll look for workloads that have about 1 terabyte of total storage. Or, and this is the example I'm going to move forward with, let's go ahead and look for all those that are in some version of needing additional information. This brings me to my second feature. We have a feature here called a bulk editor. The bulk editor lets me do all the same things that I did in the workload dialog, but lets me do it to all the selected objects in this list. So for example, we'll do the same thing that we did before. We'll select code repositories, and for a network, we'll take that one. And for our transformation method, let's go virtual to virtual. I'm going to press the apply button, and you'll note that we get a confirmation dialog. It's telling us all the workloads that'll be affected. In this case, everything's good to go. I'm simply going to click on proceed. As we do so, you'll note that these lists updated, and all the choices that we just made in that bulk edit dialog were applied to any number of workloads that we might have had selected, including up to thousands. The last thing I want to show you, at least for right now, is our automated, let's click over here to the dashboard, is our dashboard. Now, unlike all the other features in the product, the dashboard was specifically created for the owners of the workloads themselves. We'd expect these to be corporate executives or customers or anybody who's got an ongoing stake in your migration projects. Now, a user who has only the dashboard viewer role would only be able to see the dashboard and wouldn't see any of these other main nav items. For system administrators, though, we've got a really nice built-in feature that will let you quickly drill into any of these categories. So for example, to quickly see all of the items that are in any type of an error or a warning state, you just click on the warning number here, and that'll take you directly to the workloads list, showing only the items that are in that type of a state. That is the end of the demo for the first part of our series. The second part of our series will show you the integration that we've created between Transformation Manager and our Migrate product.